So I was today in my walk-in. Yeah, the walk-in. And I went to the shirt section.
Okay, go on.
And I grabbed one of the, blue and white checkered ones,
Yeah,
of which I have 1,000.
yeah.
And then I was, no, wait a minute.
I thought it was an intro. It was good. Come on.
No, yeah, I was introing. And then I was saying, no, wait a minute. I'm being filmed today. And as a professional, I know that checkered anything on
doesn't work.
on a video can't
work.
do it. Can't
No.
do it. And Bart would probably would have sent me home
I would have sent you home
and
as
be
well.
like, Tony, you're gonna change this now. I'm gonna, you're gonna go now to Suit Supply. You're gonna pick up another of your 1,500 white shirts. Then you're gonna put this one on.
Some massive problems and decisions we have to make all the time. So difficult.
Yep,
I mean,
that's what it is.
What shirt to wear?
I mean, so this is the good thing about having this uniform. There's just no thinking. You just
Yeah.
walk in. You're still sleeping. Basically showered. You're just still like dazed.
Do I want white or just, a little broken
No, it's like
eggshell white?
you just doesn't matter. You just grab something, and then you're surprised when you walk out and kind of see yourself in the mirror. It's like, oh, that's what I'm wearing today.
We're back. Happy Monday, recording
Yep.
in the studio. And today we're going to talk a bit about decisions. Decisions.
Like deciding which shirt to wear.
Well, hopefully a little bit more impactful
I see.
than that,
Okay.
right?
Well.
So the thing is, there we've talked about it in the past. There are different kinds of decisions that you need to make.
Mhm.
There are some that are, a reflex, such as just picking the shirt and then like go, easy, little brain power used on it. And some are a bit more reflective. And my wife and I, funny enough, are in that period right now of a lot of reflective decisions.
Oh,
So we made a really big decision to buy a house, and this market, I know, blah, 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 blah. But we kind of had to, right? And that's a massive decision.
and you had to because
We're having a third kid.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
woo! I can find the applause
Or-
button on here.
or
Oh.
condolences.
Well, usually, yeah, that's usually the reaction. People are like, number 3?
That was
Are
a
you-
mistake, right?
Yeah. But so we need a house. We
Yeah.
need a bigger place.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a big decision. And the thing is, once you've decided that you're going to go and get a house, you know what happens? You have a million other decisions
Mm-hmm.
to make. And some of them are big, some of them are small. Like,
Mhm.
so this weekend was, hey, we need, a couch because it's going to be too small. We need a new bed. We need, there's a lot of things you actually need to do along the way. And that's why this is a really important episode. Because when you are going to make a big decision in the context of business, you actually need a process for it because there's a lot of follow-on repercussions of, making a big decision.
Yeah, and you might ask yourself, what is a big decision?
Mm.
Let's start there, maybe. I think from my perspective, sometimes it is what is easily reversible.
Yeah.
If it's not easily reversible, then it probably smells like a big decision. If it is having a big financial impact, then it probably is a big decision as well. And usually those two things, either by themselves or combined, they lead to number 3, which is lots of people being involved in a big decision, right? And those are I think the cornerstones of this is something that probably needs a process, probably needs to be thought through. I just can't make that decision by myself, and that then sometimes becomes complicated pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I think if you mess it up, it can have some pretty serious ramifications. So one example would just be a decision is made, you've not been involved, but you actually need to be involved because it really impacts your area. And if you haven't been involved, you're not going to buy into it. Maybe you're going to resist, whatever decision. So we're going to get into all that good stuff. And we've had a process in the past. And it's a little, well, not a little, it's a change in how you approach basically making a decision that I want to get into. And maybe you can start us off there. How does it work? When do you need to use this trick?
So maybe we give the trick a name first.
Yeah.
It
It's not
was-
that sexy.
No. So it was never designed to be on a podcast, that idea, you know. So it's a decision document.
Yeah.
That's what we started calling it. I think many others out there have other words for it.
Proposal.
And the basic idea was, you know, when you reach a certain stage in an organization, you just can't, hey, let's huddle quickly,
Mm.
let's talk it through, let's decide in the room, and let's go execute. It usually that starts becoming more and more difficult to do it like that. And then one reason obviously is, well, there are many more people that need to be in the room. There might be a lot of things that really need to be thought through fully. This is typical thing for revenue operations, right? But it's also a typical thing for any kind of revenue engine or organization. And then the other thing is, which really was where this was born from. The pain really was that a lot of decisions that were made quickly in a room and huddled about. Sure, you had some issues on the fringes of we forgot to include you because your calendar was blocked. The real problem was that the people in the room kept forgetting what they were deciding like a month later.
Didn't we agree already about this?
I understood it like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is going against one of our core principles, which is incremental improvements.
Yeah.
And incremental improvements doesn't only mean that you get better at 1% a day or whatever, or 10% in order to double. Reference to another podcast, but it actually talks about, and the important piece here is that you need to keep building improvements on top of each other. But if people keep forgetting what they were deciding, and a decision, if you will, in the most abstract sense, is an improvement. I mean, that's at least the idea of it. If people keep forgetting those decisions and are not fully aligned, and then basically kind of contradict themselves, or and it never happened,
Yeah.
I forgot something. Then you're kind of destroying those 1% incremental improvements that you have been creating and then working so hard on, and you're staying always at the same level instead of being able to build on top of each other, right? This is why we started this whole decision document process. I'm going to talk a little bit about how that works specifically, but really the ability to, super boring, but the ability to document, or maybe a little bit less boring, to lock in specific decisions, having the ability to going back to it, pointing to it, and also looping other people in. So, and that really is then the, hey, Jazz, you need to probably write it down now.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think it's also so I totally, acknowledge the fact that sometimes you just forget. You can't remember in detail every decision you've made, so it's important to actually get it down on paper.
Yeah.
But also when you consider this being a more reflective decision, because usually big ones will require you to do that, and all the follow-on decisions you need to make, actually the process of sitting down and thinking what problems will happen if we do this for sales, for marketing, for CS, what are the things that we can anticipate, and what decisions are there to be made as a follow-on for whatever the big decision is critical, right?
No, absolutely. And then just think about, so let's just say you want to, we go through this example many times. You want to roll out a new motion. You want to, I think the worst possible case here is, hey, let's just do PLG, product-led growth. This is not one decision document. This is like 1,000 of those, by the way. But whatever you're gonna do, some executive in the room will discuss it. There will be a decision coming from it. There will be a clear purpose, why it needs to happen, and so forth. But then a lot of managers further down, they need to actually execute it and fill in the details. A lot of RevOps professionals need to read it and really try and understand the intent and then build it into the system and so forth. Not having anything that is written or documented around it, that just doesn't work, right? And again, the parallels to running in a product and engineering organization are getting more and more clear to me, to be honest, right? Those are the exact same problems that product and engineering sees all the time. They've solved it pretty well by documenting things really well. So all of the things that we are discussing on the commercial side, they're kind of boring for them because we solved this 25 years ago, and, and we're just we're just a lot of grown-up sales reps here, really, right? No, but seriously, those are things that are extremely crucial in order to run a proper organization at a certain stage.
And I think if you also ever experience something like you work on a project with whoever, we all agreed, goes live, and then someone goes, why did it end up like this? I did not agree to making it like this.
Yeah.
It's actually a massive problem. And especially if you have a bigger project, there are more stakeholders, more problems to be addressed. And actually, here's the thing. By taking on big projects, you get a lot of exposure as a professional. This is one of those career shaping, building things you can use to also grow, grow up the ladder. And if you have a solid process to manage everyone, then you're going to be even more successful.
Yeah. Let's go into some of the details here potentially.
So here's the thing. When do you make a decision document? Like when in the process is that like, okay, now let's go do this?
Yeah.
Because there are some steps in the process, especially with bigger decisions. It's not going to be, me as a manager necessarily deciding we're going to add a new motion, right? So let's start there to figure out when is it the right time.
Yeah, I think so. In an abstract world, again, if you have something that's easily reversible, then maybe that's not super important. If you have something that's fairly cheap or doesn't have a large financial impact, maybe that's not super important. And if it's really only a small handful of people that need to be involved, then maybe it's also not super important that you document that stuff. What I've found, though, is that over time, you will develop a little bit of a gut feel when you really actually need it versus when you don't. I started sometimes creating it almost like as a memo. Super. I feel like I'm working in the 70s right now, but creating it as a memo even after smaller things were decided and then just circulating around, making sure that everyone still is on the same page. But usually for bigger stuff, and I think everyone listening will have a little bit of a feeling once you tried it, when it's worthwhile and when it's not worthwhile. Yeah. And really the start is once you start, once you made the decision to have a document helping you with the process, it's extremely important to organize your own thoughts, organize them in a written format. And that written format, I've learned, is ideally in a Word document, not in a slide deck. I totally understand, executive slides is so super important, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the place where you can probably best organize your thoughts is in a written format. Whether or not that's Word or Google Docs or Notion or something else, I don't care about that. But try and write stuff down. It gets really hard for you to skip over your own thoughts, skip over issues that might be really important when you write things down. Yeah? And it starts always with what is the purpose of this document? What should that decision, achieve or be, or why are we even tackling this problem, right? That's really important. And ideally, as a next step, you want to clearly outline what the problem is. It might even be a good spot to have, and it sounds so technocratic, by the way, I'm sorry, but to have definitions. What do we mean with this word?
Yeah.
Just so we're going to make sure everyone is on the same page and is not reading other things into those abbreviations and short versions. Clearly stating, hey, this is what this means. And ideally, what you want to create in the beginning is obviously alignment and blah blah blah. But you also want to create a clear understanding of what's the intent here. Why? What's the I think the director's intent or something like that. So there's this book, Extreme Ownership. This is those Navy SEAL guys. Cool. I've read it. I like it for a couple of other reasons. But one of the things that they were talking about there is, when you basically deploy into, I don't know, like a battlefield kind of scenario, I don't know, you don't have enough time to call back and be like, hey, I'm on the street corner. There are two bad guys. What should I do? It needs to be super clear what the original intent is, what you want to, overall, what the mission is of, what you want to achieve. And then things might be unforeseeable. Things might change. Things might screw up. But the different individual actors on the field need to understand, how they can best optimize towards the end outcome,
Yeah.
right? And that is basically what you want to achieve in the first part of this document, to basically get everyone on the same page. Not necessarily saying how you're going to get to the end, but saying, hey, this is why it's important. And this is the problem that we really need to solve.
Yeah. I mean, it can sound very bureaucratic at the end of, I mean, if you're being very honest, right? Why can't you just go? Why not?
Yeah. So I tried this a couple of times. And it's really fun until you realize that, number one, everything that you build up on the one side, you turn around, you just kicking it over with your own butt. I don't know, is that a German or Danish saying? Or
Never heard of it.
there's something like that somewhere. But the other thing is also, and this is a little bit to the point that you made there, almost career-wise, you're going to just look stupid, unprofessional at some point. You're just going to look unprepared, unorganized. You're going to seem like you're wasting everyone's time.
Yeah.
And you maybe don't want to do that. And I think this is different from this typical project management approach of where you're just a bystander and, helping things to kind of go along. This one is, okay, I am the owner of a part of this thing here, and I want this to happen now. I have a really big motivation for this to happen, and now I need to align everyone around me, right? And really then once you have established that, hey, this is what this is about, then you basically start going into the nitty-gritty of things. You basically start going to the solution proposal part of the document.
Yeah.
And there you write out, in order to achieve some of these things, we need to, we need to tackle 1, 2, and 3. And as you write this out, and this is usually what happened to me, as you write this out, you will suddenly realize, oh, there's actually 4, 5, and 6 also. Maybe less are so important, clearly. But, unless we get that done, that will still be on the list. And, we really need to actually care for that. And the other piece then is that, first of all, the solution proposal that you start writing out, that really is just a proposal. That needs to be clear for everyone who sees this. But what's sometimes much more important than the proposal itself and the meat of that decision, it's who should be the decision maker on which part of those proposals. That is sometimes actually the most important thing. And this is the thing that you need to be discussing with the different people in the room when you have that first session. Because if you don't align on who is going to make that decision in the end, you might end up with a proposal dead in the water, because people just saying, no, it needs to be like this or it needs to be like that, but no one is able to call the shot and say, hey, this is what we're going to do now.
Yeah.
I understand the ups and downs for both sides, but this is actually what we're going to do now. So that's really difficult to do that after the fact. That's really difficult when, this is already clear. We know how the game is going to play. You need to do that before the game basically starts, right? So really making clear, hey, those are the different areas where you and me or someone else is the decision maker on this. It doesn't mean that the decision maker is necessarily the person that writes out the rest of the proposal and, does that. But basically, this is the person that we all agree is best placed to make that decision in the end, right? And in some cases, it was, when I was the CRO, was, okay, that's only Tony that can really balance that call between sales, marketing, and CS and what so forth. But if it's somewhere else in the organization, it might just be other people that are better suited to make that call. And the idea should be always try and push as many decisions as possible down in the organization. That should be the idea, and only pull things up to the highest level when it's necessary, basically.
Yeah. So I mean, this creation of the document and all the steps underneath are not created in isolation. They're created with the stakeholders and the teams that need to, potentially carry out the work in the future. The other thing I was reflecting over is really, how does it start, right? Because my experience has been, boss comes to you and says, hey, we're thinking about this big decision to add this motion or whatever. We need to go and figure out how to do it. So that make the decision document. Could it be the other way around, that you start creating it and it's a proposal? Where's the distinction between the two?
So I think the decision document is an execution piece
Mm.
rather than it is a what should we do piece. You know,
So a decision has kind of been made. Now
Yeah.
we're validating, can it actually be made?
Yeah. And the reason why it needs to work like that is the decision document itself is kind of useless without having the clear purpose stated and the clear intent behind it. I think in order to, and what you're really referring to is, I'm a marketing manager and I want to do something that is maybe a little bit above my pay grade. I want to have I want to push an idea that I think we should totally do as an organization, which is sometimes the right thing to go about it. How do I now get everyone on the same page to do what I wanted to do? I think that is a process that happens prior to this decision document.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that only the boss can create a decision document. That's not what this is. But this is really I have an idea and we are kind of aligning around that idea and let's give it a try. So, okay, now it's here. The stuff in between, that's your decision document, right? Or obviously part of that. That's really just the written format of this. Sometimes the way I've been referring to a decision document is like passing a bill through Congress. You know, you need sponsors, and then you need to give it a fancy name, and then there's lots of text that no one reads in the middle, and that is a little bit sometimes how this decision document feels and around it. But so one great example, this is still a decision document that's in circulation now, in Brandwatch, basically the company that's using this stuff now, and it's the rules of engagement that I created with the leadership team, with the sales leadership team. So what are the rules of engagement? Those are basically, once you come to a certain size of an organization and you have many sales reps, there's going to be questions. The basic question is who gets paid.
Yeah.
Let's just boil it down. It's not about alignment and attacking the same customer at the same time unknowingly. No, it's who gets paid what commission, and it really added up like a legal text. And that getting to the point of having rules of engagement in place and we were 50, 60 reps with a lot of people that had a lot of money hanging on this. This is not just a boss sits in the corner, drafts something, and then lobs it over the line. This is everyone needs to agree and buy in.
Yeah.
Everyone obviously always has some kind of a massive, quirky outlier. But what about this scenario?
Yeah. You can go on a long time.
And for one of the ways you can see those super outlier scenarios as well, you need to be able to solve everything in a super systemized way. And some outliers are 1 in 100, and you should probably care for those. Some outliers are 1 in 1,000, and maybe it's not yet time to care for those. It takes a little bit longer. But finding that balance and going through that process, I think a decision document and the process around it was probably one of the reasons why it ended up working in the end. And whenever anyone came to so it was in the end, it was VP EMEA, VP US came to my desk. This deal is mine. and the cool thing then there was, what's the decision according to the rules of engagement that we agreed on, and why does the other person disagree with that, right? And then usually suddenly the conversation stopped and the problem was solved. And that is then another way to, again, hey, we agreed on this, it's written here, this is how we came to that conclusion. Both of you agreed, by the way, and now use this to solve your problem. And it worked out, right? And that is maybe, one specific case where that process was really, really helpful. And then a very similar case was really around, it really was the product-led growth. We didn't know yet that this is what it's going to be called in the end, but basically a part of the platform accessible through the website, through a credit card sign up and so forth. Tons of people involved, tons of emotions involved. And it was not just hey, let's get everyone on the same page and let's do it.
No.
It was okay, here are 1 gazillion problems that we need to manage now. Let's go.
And we even had to figure out, before we could make the decision, how is the business flow going to work? We actually had to, as part of that exercise, create a business flow.
Yeah.
I want to take, a step back here, because we kind of talked about, okay, then you go into almost the execution part here, right? But let's say we have a listener out there. They've, now done the steps, written out the purpose, outline all the decisions, liaised with stakeholders. When are you done and effectively ready to go. When does that transition happen?
Yeah.
And what do you need to do if you've, taken the effort to create this document?
Yeah. So what I found is you can start implementing once you have, and this is, you have those different chapters, topics 1 through 6. They have different names. Each of the chapters might have different decision makers. And in the beginning, they're all in proposal stage.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a proposal. Let's figure this out. But as you move through this, you might get to, and this is pipeline. That's how I saw it. You might get to decision stage.
Yeah.
With some of those chapters. And in reality, you can probably start implementing once you reached decision stage on one or multiple of those, and then you start implementing that specific piece. And sometimes there might be things that block you from doing that because something else really is kind of more important upstream, but that's basically how I went about it. Once you had agreement in one area, you could basically kind of take that piece and give it to, I don't know, your RevOps team or someone else who's then creating a specific implementation document probably around this. It sounds very technocratic, I don't know how to say it. But basically, that's then how you can manage the process, right, as you move through. Because many times you will find new things that then need to be played back. And it's like, does it all still make sense and so forth? And actually, on this point, that's why the purpose is so important. You want to have, once you have so many people involved with this, there will be decisions, and they can be so silly that, hey, should we do A or should we do B? And if you're down in the weeds, you just don't know anymore.
No.
It says, I don't have any clue. So really what you want to do is you want to be able to go back, ask the question that is one of our favorite questions, which is, what are you optimizing for? What do you want to achieve with this? And that question is answered in the purpose. And if ideally that person that is making a decision very far down in the organization or in this process can reread the purpose and can then be like, okay, if this is what we're trying to optimize for, then it's pretty clear that we need to go for A instead of B.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what you actually want to do. So that's how it then sometimes ties together.
And is the decision document only for work? Because I was reflecting, I could use one as well. It's very much a personality thing. So sometimes I will forget stuff, and then
tell me what you wanna have a decision document on with your wife. I would love that.
I think maybe it's more about getting the decisions that I want. The whole negotiation. So should it be this fabric for the couch or what? You need to pick your battles.
Yeah. I mean, and once decision stage is reached, you can go execute, Mikkel. Don't forget about that.
And the problem is, if the decision, if I don't agree with it, I still have to support it. We still have to actually do it.
Honey, I don't recall that we were discussing this particular.
Always happens. Always happens. But
wonderful.
Bringing it back to the business, I hope this I hope it didn't seem too bureaucratic. I hope it's actually something you will consider for some of the bigger decisions that you might be involved with at some point. It's going to be incredibly helpful. I can say it from experience, having those decisions, knowing what is decided, locked in, what is not, very helpful.
Yes. I can also only recommend it, and it's I can only recommend it after I've tried it a couple of times. If someone on a show like this would have told me, Tony, this is what you need to do, I would be like, forget about that. I can just say it's really powerful.
Yeah.
So try it out. If you have any questions, hit me up on LinkedIn or Mikkel, and maybe we can help and or learn something. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Thanks, Mikkel.
Bye.
Bye.